Hey everyone, thank you for joining me. I know I said I would do the full review in about 2 weeks, and that was about a month ago on the Spyderco Para 3 Lightweight, but got busy and just been doing a bunch of custom orders. So now that I have just a little bit of time, I wanted to do my full review on this lightweight. So real quick, specs on screen. Now this is my first and only Spyderco made in the US and with the compression style lock. The reason I purchased this lightweight was it was a bit more in my budget. It was under $100. I just didn't have the funds to purchase the standard or the G10 version. I didn't want to pay that much just in case I didn't like the knife. I just really wanted to get a hands-on feel for it, carry it for a while, and then make my full decision from there before committing to the standard version. So I'll start with the compression lock. Now, I gotta say, I love the compression lock. It's definitely different. It's just so easy to access when the blade is deployed, and just a quick push of the compression lock and the blade drops shut. It's basically, at least for me, it's a reversed liner lock. Really unique and very simple to use. So I really like the compression lock. Moving on to the Spidey hole. From carrying it in my pocket for well over a month now, the Spidey hole is just a really good placement. You can easily Spidey flick it, slow thumb roll it, or you could even just flick it out with your thumb. And again, the compression lock allows you to just get the blade out as well, but it's chamfered very well, so there's really no sharp spots, and it's just really comfortable to use. So I'm a big fan of the Spidey hole as well. Now a lot of people are, I'd say I'm a little bit worried too about the structure, since it is a bit of a weak point, but again, I don't really use my knives to the extreme. I don't really put crazy amounts of pressure on them, so I'm not really too worried about it. At first I wasn't really a big fan of Spyderco knives because of the hole and the styling of it, but over time it slowly grew on me, and honestly I think out of all the paramilitaries, I think the Para 3 is my favorite. Moving on to the finish on the blade. I don't know exactly what Spyderco does, but I'd really like to achieve this look. For you guys who own a Para 3 lightweight, you guys know exactly what I'm talking about, but again, it's a really nice finish. It's like a smoothed out stonewash. I believe Metal Complex called it a cloudy finish, and yeah, I think it just looks really good. So I'm happy with the finish on the blade. I also wanted to mention that the jimping is very well done, and I think in the perfect spot, since you have it in two areas, on the finger choil here on the bottom, and then on the top of the spine as well. Just really comfortable when you choke up on it. In the regular fashion, your thumb lands perfectly on that jimping. So great placement for the jimping itself. Moving on to the scales. And like I said in my unboxing video, I'm surprised on how well the scales are done. And I know they're just FRN handles, but again, there's no little sharp tabs poking out on the ends, and it's structurally very strong. Just a big fan of how well they executed the scales. Also a fan of the texturing, since once you go against it, the grip kicks in, and then when you go the opposite direction, it's just a very pleasant and smooth feeling texture, especially when you're putting it into the pants. It goes with the grain, so it just slides right in. And then the upper section, when you're pulling it out of the pocket, it slides with the grain, so it's not really going to eat up your pockets. I haven't had any issues in my pockets, so really big fan of the texture, and it looks cool. And hence the lightweight name. It is very lightweight, coming in at 2.4 ounces. Now the steel on this blade is CTS BD1N, and I did get this blade before Christmas, so I was opening some presents with it, and I believe one of the gifts had a metal string bow on it, so I couldn't open it, so I used this blade to cut it open. The fact that I used it on some metal, even though it was very thin metal, it did cut through it, and it's still really sharp. So it does hold up very well. So I'm a huge fan of that. I haven't had to sharpen this the whole time I've had it. So really pleased with the blade steel. And another thing I'd like to add on the blade is, like I mentioned in the Spidey hole, the chamfering is really well done on the spine of the blade and the Spidey hole. It's actually really pleasant to the touch, and I'm not really worried about getting cut from the spine. So really well executed. Now moving on to the pocket clip. I'm a fan of the deep carry. I'm a fan of the wire clip. Definitely makes this blade a lot lighter. Now I'm 50-50 on the pocket clip, so I like it but I don't, but more on that when I talk about the dislikes. And last but not least, the drop shot on this blade is crazy smooth. I'll see if I can do it on this angle of the camera, but yeah, it just drops shut beautifully. Super happy with it. Now that I've mentioned the things that I like about this blade, we'll get into the dislikes. Now they're not that serious of issues, but just some of the things that I've noticed carrying this thing for over a month, getting a better feel for it, and just inspecting it more and seeing how it performs. I'll start with the pocket clip since I am 50-50 on it. One thing I've noticed is it does kind of sway side to side if you put pressure on it, which doesn't really bother me, but it just seems like it's kind of flimsy. I don't know if you guys who have the lightweight have the same issue, but I've caught this in the seatbelt of a car, and it did snag on it, but it didn't break it or rip it out of the recessed areas here. Now I've seen videos and pictures of people who have had an issue where it would get snagged and it would actually rip out of the recessed area, but it seems like maybe if they just did a larger head on the hardware, maybe it would hold it in a little bit better. So I don't know if you guys can see, but it's borderline on the edge of the wire clip, so maybe that has something to do with it. Again, I've had no issues, so that's really my only concern with the pocket clip. Now we can move on to the blade centering. So you guys can see it's not perfectly centered, which doesn't really bother me. I mean, it's a bit off. Now I've tried tightening the pivot screws and just doing a little bit of adjustment. The only thing I haven't tried yet is Metal Complex's method to centering, which I think would fix it. But like I said, it doesn't really bother me, and it's not that big of an issue, but I have noticed it. So that's one of the dislikes I have about it. And my last issue I have on this blade is when it's deployed, there's actually a little bit of blade play. Now it's not a lot, but you can definitely feel it. And even when I tighten the pivot down really hard, there's still a little bit of blade play. So I don't know if that has anything to do with the one washer that they put in here, since I know that they use the FRN handles as a washer or internal washer. So maybe that has something to do with it. It's something I did notice after using it for a while. Those are my three main issues with this blade. But all around, I'd give it a 8 out of 10. It's an almost perfect blade, other than those minor issues. If those didn't exist, then yeah, I would say this blade is a 10 out of 10. But again, my opinions, my experiences, maybe they differ from you guys, your experiences. Let me know down in the comments below if you guys have the same issues, or if you guys have any issues or no issues. I'd really appreciate you guys' feedback. That way I can see if it's a consistent thing or not. Big fan of the lightweight. I'm glad I purchased it. It's a really comfortable knife and it functions very well. And the fact that it is light definitely makes it unnoticeable in the pocket. So thank you guys for watching. I appreciate you guys listening to my thoughts on this blade. And as always, I will see you guys on the next one.